LTX 2.5 just came on the scene, claiming it's beating models like Minimax H3 and even Seedance 2.5. Two models that are a big story right now. Transparently, I question whether this is true or not. Today we're going to look at some LTX 2.5 examples, look at the specs of the model, and discuss comparisons against Minimax H3 and Seedance 2.5. And also on visual artifacts. Again, this is their own website, so this might be some cherry-picked statistics from them. The LTX 2.5 is so new that it does not even appear on either the artificial analysis text to video leaderboard or the image to video leaderboard. So today we're going to go through 4 tests specifically designed to try and break this video model. We're going to do tests focused on hands, full body physics and chaotic motion, as well as audio lip syncing. So what actually is LTX 2.5 before we get started? LTX 2.5 is the newest video model on the scene, a descendant of the LTX line, specifically LTX 2.3, which Minimax H3 destroys by a huge margin, ranked number 2 versus LTX 2.3 Pro at number 23. Now, what actually makes LTX 2.5 different from the other big names that we've been seeing? I think this chart puts it pretty plainly. Minimax H3 kind of markets itself as completely open source, and that's true to an extent, but if you actually want to use it for anything in a production capacity, there is restrictions from their license where you actually have to display some sort of Minimax H3 branding. Overall, it's not fully open. It's open conditionally. Seedance 2.5 has no open source accessibility at all. So LTX 2.5 is kind of the only one that really hits the open source mark. It's also claimed to be very, very fast relative to Minimax H3, which has been kind of dominating the scene over the last week. Really, LTX 2.5's edge right now doesn't really have anything to do with this. It's the fact that it's the only one of 3 recently released models you can actually download and run offline and fine-tune without any sort of license restriction. It also is relatively small, so people with at least a 16 gigabyte VRAM card should be able to run this. Now, the one thing to note is that fast does not necessarily mean good. Good and fast, it won't be cheap. Cheap and fast, it won't be good, yada yada. So a lot of people were complaining that LTX, while it is fast, generates at a pretty low quality. So we're going to put that to the test today and see for ourselves. Access-wise, LTX wins right out of the gate, but performance-wise, that's still an open question. So let's go ahead and find out. So first and foremost, where are we actually going to run this model? I'm going to be running this inside of ComfyUI. First things first, you want to make sure that you are updated to the latest version. You can do that by clicking on the manager in ComfyUI, then clicking update ComfyUI right here. Once that's done, restart and refresh your browser, and you should be good to go. Next, we're going to click on this drop down here and go to browse templates. In the search bar, we're going to look for LTX 2.5, and you'll see there are a couple different workflows that show up here. First 3 are API based, so you'll have to pay for these, but if you don't want to deal with all the noodles and ComfyUI mess yourself, these are an option for you. But we're actually going to look for this image to video right here. We are not going to be testing text to video in this video, only image to video, as I think that's one of the ones that's most relevant for everybody. So I'm going to click the image to video workflow, and that's going to load something like this. Now, you're going to need to load quite a few models. That is a downside of LTX right out of the gate, is that it is pretty heavy when you put everything together, but the models themselves aren't that bad. The link to get those files are in the description. If you're running ComfyUI locally, you can just save each file to the dedicated folder inside of your models folder. If you're doing this in RunPod, you'll have to load them into your Jupyter Lab, which you can find right here. And I've also put a line of code in the description that you can use to actually pull models from Hugging Face. You will need an API key, by the way, if you're pulling models into Hugging Face, because this model is in fact gated. The first test I'm going to do is the good old Will Smith eating spaghetti test. I've already downloaded all the models. I'm going to leave the frame rate at 24 seconds. We'll do a 5-second duration. Leave our aspect ratio as is. Now, one thing to keep in mind, and this is relevant for Minimax H3 as well, is the megapixel count. So Minimax H3 and LTX 2.5 come with this chart. So with LTX 2.5 being a kind of quicker, lighter model than Minimax H3, they actually have 0.9 megapixels set as the default, which comes out to 1280 by 736, which is pretty good. I'd say that's pretty high quality for the speed that we get from this model. This is how you can determine what you want your resolution to be. And obviously if you're doing 9:16, then you would just flip the values. I'm going to leave it at what it is, and let's go ahead and run this. I'm running this on a 5090 inside of RunPod, so you guys will be able to see what the actual time to generate looks like. And boy, that is very fast. Borderline real time. I'm talking through this as it's generating so you guys can see how quick this actually is. I'll go ahead and look at the console real quick just to see how far we are in the process, and it looks like the generation's already almost done. Right, that was super fast. Whole generation process took about 48 seconds on a 5090. That is pretty good for open source video. Now let's see how the quality turns out. Again, here we're mostly looking to test the audio, overall food physics. Again, for those of you that have been around the AI space for a long time, this should be a very familiar test to you, and if that's the case, you've probably seen a lot of these already. So in our minds, we already have a good benchmark on what we're looking for, but let's go ahead and check out this result.
LTX 2.5 is the best.
Okay, I would say that was pretty good. I mean, it's not exactly what I was looking for, but I mean, I don't hate it. Now, I think the quality isn't the best. I think maybe some sort of post-processing or upscaling could fix that. Again, we're still seeing a bit of that warping, and this is what I really didn't like about LTX 2.3. It seemed to have a lot of this where, you know, these small details are artifacting, and that's interesting that we're actually seeing that considering the benchmarks that they themselves put on their website regarding artifacting. Otherwise, I would say it's pretty good. I don't know where this camera punch-in is coming from, and I was really hoping he would be the one to say it. Overall, I'm pretty satisfied with this. I don't see anything that really stands out to me. I like the lighting coming through on the ear. That looks good. The trees swaying in the background looks really nice. The water physics here look really great. Definitely looks like a realistic ocean, I would say. Camera punch is definitely really good too. I mean, overall, this is a pretty solid generation. I'll give it to LTX 2.5 here. The only thing that I can really see is this fork, but considering where we were when we originally started testing this, and you guys can see what the LTX 2.3 result was like. You guys can go look at that video. I'd say we've definitely come a pretty long way, and this is for sure a solid start for LTX 2.5. And that generation time is pretty insane as well. So real quick, actually, while we're here, let's try and push this a little bit. Let's go for a resolution of 1.5. So we'll really up the requested resolution here, and let's also just change our prompt a little bit. Let's go ahead and give this a shot and see if this result comes out any better. And that higher resolution version took 114 seconds, almost a couple minutes there, but that's still pretty good, especially for the resolution we asked for. So let's take a look.
LTX 2.5 is the best.
That was solid. Again, the water looks great. The trees in the background look great. I'd say his expressions look pretty realistic. Now, does that still look like Will Smith? I would say probably not, but I also wasn't asking for that. I'm not really trying to test the model's ability to understand public figures right now. I'm more just doing the traditional tests that we've always done when it comes to these video models. As for artifacting, I definitely think this video is better, but we're also not asking for too much motion, which some of our other tests will address. Again, some weirdness around the teeth. That's always a big problem for these AI video models, but when you play it back, it's not too bad. Overall, I would give LTX 2.5 a thumbs up here. One of the hardest things for video models to do typically is this gymnastics style footage. Limbs tend to warp together, body proportions go missing. I think that's something we've seen time and time again, so let's try a gymnastics style video. For our prompt, we're saying a gymnast on the floor mat performs a back handspring that flows directly into a full twisting layout. Body proportions and limb length staying consistent throughout the entire rotation, sticking the landing with arms raised. Let's see how this turns out. We'll keep the same resolution. Let's run it. Now this should be a pretty decent test against the LTX 2.5 artifacting claim. So far, I don't really have any complaints on speed. I'm pretty impressed with this. Let's take a look at what we got. So bad I had to see it a second time. Brutal result here from LTX 2.5 for sure. We spent a lot of time at the beginning of this breathing, and then we kind of completely missed the mark altogether on the prompt. And again, we talk about artifacting. Like, I guess I'm confused on what they would call artifacting, because to me, that's exactly what this looks like. It looks like motion blur that is presenting itself as artifacting. I mean, overall, it's not bad. Like, I guess we're not seeing things morph necessarily. We've got a little bit here, but overall, I wouldn't call it warping, I guess, but also we didn't see the motion to actually be able to claim that. So I think this is one maybe we want to extend the duration and try again. We'll give it a couple more seconds to actually generate something. So let's do 8 seconds and run this one more time. That generation took 110 seconds, by the way, the original one. Right at 8 seconds, 24 FPS. That took about 115 seconds to generate, so still pretty good. Again, let's take a look and see if this is any better. Again, I'm not entirely sure what we're looking at here. So this seems to align with what is reported by the community so far on this model. This problem seems to still carry over from LTX 2.3, which also kind of really struggled with this type of proportional movement and chaotic movement, I guess. The audio doesn't particularly make sense to me either. Like, I guess it would if she was actually doing the motion, but there's clapping for nothing, so it doesn't particularly work. Overall, I think LTX 2.5 definitely missing out on the body motion test. One other thing I want to call out, we're generating at a decently high resolution, I would say, for open source video models. The face details are not great. I mean, the overall quality of the video is fine, I guess, but like we can see that she has not opened her eyes yet, or it's like a half open, half closed kind of deal. And she takes this like big breath at the beginning of the clip, but nothing actually happens with her body to show that. Her lips don't move. Her face is completely the same. Like, she does this like shoulder lift thing, but her face remains entirely the same, which is not normal. So loss here for LTX. A similar note to body movement, one of the biggest problems with AI generally in image and video is hands. So this is a complex video that I have actually not tried on any other model. So I don't really have a basis on what would be considered good here. With our knowledge of the AI video space, I think we'll be able to figure it out. So here is our starting image, and for our prompt, we're going to say extreme close-up on a pair of hands, rifle shuffling a deck of playing cards on a wooden table. So rifle shuffling, by the way, is when you go like this, like you do that bridge thing. You guys can go ahead and read the rest of the prompt while I go ahead and run this. I'm actually watching this clip back while waiting for the generation, and look at this guy back here. That is actually better than what we were asking for. I guess we can give LTX 2.5 a little bit of credit here. This running does actually look fairly normal, especially as like a background element that you don't really focus on. Same with the clapping, I guess. Like, it's actually kind of impressive when you look at it. I'll give LTX 2.5 a little bit of the benefit of the doubt here on the details, because the more I look at it, the better it actually is. Still, the overall point being that we did miss on what we were asking for. So here is our video of the deck of cards shuffling. Let's take a look. I'm extremely confused. I genuinely have no words. Now, at this point, a little ComfyUI tip for you guys. With these open source models, sometimes it really is your setup. That's why I've gone with the base template workflow provided directly from ComfyUI. LTX 2.5 launched with day 0 support, meaning ComfyUI already had actually worked with the LTX team to get a working workflow, and the models downloaded were the ones that were included here by default. Technically, this shouldn't be a workflow issue. This looks like that's just what LTX 2.5 generated for the prompt. Now again, we are early on in the race. Again, another ComfyUI tip, when you see this, that means that it's a subgraph. So if we click into this, we can see the actual node set up for this. And one thing I want to point your guys' attention to is this prompt enhancement section. Now, prompt enhancement, especially when running these open source video models, is a good thing. Like, it's provided to you for a reason, but it's also pretty heavy the way that they set it up. Also, oftentimes may not actually be the best prompt enhancement setup. Give this some time, and the open source community, including me, I'll probably work on this as well, we'll find a way to replace this with something better, because my thought right now is it is possible that the prompt enhancement model is reading this and maybe misunderstanding what I'm asking for, because I really am not sure where this like floral pattern comes in at all, to be honest. It does not appear anywhere in this prompt. unless it's misunderstanding rifle shuffling as something else, or riffle, however you want to pronounce it. I mean, we're even asking for like the sound of cards and a faint ambient room tone, but for some reason it gave me music. And again, I'll give credit where credit is due. Like, these people in the background actually look pretty good. Like, everyone's eating or doing something. Like, the dude picks up a card, eats something, puts it on the table, flips it, drops it. Like, it's amazing how the background elements are better than what I'm actually asking for. I mean, I will say though, card physics are one thing. The hand physics is largely what I was looking for. And it does look pretty solid. Like, the way that the hands are moving to actually open this apparently book does look pretty realistic and natural. The cards themselves, obviously we were misunderstanding something. Even that doesn't look too bad. So it really comes down to like what actually happened here. Is this a model misunderstanding problem, or is this a workflow prompt enhancement problem? I don't know, but I think there is something to be said about this video in and of itself. So I won't give it a yes or no, I'll give it a maybe. It passed this test. All right, and for our last image to video test, one thing that the LTX 2.5 page states is the video and audio VAEs being together, which is not really anything new, but more of the fact that the expression and audio quality is supposed to be pretty solid. So I want to test that as well. The LTX model is supposed to be able to handle cuts, so we're going to try that here as well. Okay, so here is our prompt asking for two different parts here. So one camera angle, which is this one to start, and then I want the camera to cut to a lower angle down here on the right, looking up at our character, trying to kind of test the model's logic and understanding, because when I say cut the camera and we're doing a documentary style footage, technically her face should stay looking at this camera. But if we do the cut and she's looking downward, then it's kind of misunderstanding a little bit and not quite deducing what I'm getting at. We're also testing some more kind of emotional voice lines and expressions. Let's run this and give it a shot. While we're waiting for the generation, I'll use this time to say, if you guys are enjoying the video, please consider liking and subscribing. I've also put a link to our Patreon in the description if you want to check it out. We've got a ton of really great resources on there and a great growing community. And I'll also take this as a moment to say thank you to all of our current paid Patreon members. It really does help me make these videos and get information out to you guys faster. So thanks again. And for our last test, let's take a look at how this turned out.
Am I good to start? Sorry, I wasn't sure.
Not bad. Again, the facial expressions are just kind of weird. We kind of got like a weird blink in here. Don't think the cut was at 4 seconds. I think it was after that. Yeah, it looks like it happened around 6 seconds. And like, here's a good example where this is just kind of scary. Now, maybe this could be fixed with generating at a higher resolution. So honestly, I'm willing to test that here. Like, here's another frame where the artifacting is just not good. The eye is completely out of place here. I would say it got it though. I mean, I'll give it the credit. Here's the thing. So pay attention to where this window is located. If we are changing the angle to, let's say, below this bookshelf right here and looking up at our character, we should technically be seeing this wall in the background, right? So when we cut, we can see that really all they did is just lower the camera angle and point it up. We didn't actually move down here to the right. So it could be that because LTX doesn't know what all this looks like here, it doesn't want to hallucinate it or whatever. I don't know what it is, but we did not really change the angle like we asked for, and the artifacting here is pretty bad. Let's go ahead and try this at just like a stupid high resolution. Let's just do it at 2. You guys will get to see how long it takes, and we'll see if that actually improves quality or not. All right, let's see if 1080p made any sort of difference.
Am I good to start? Sorry, I wasn't sure.
Honestly, that's way better. We'll take that over what we were getting before. So it seems like at 1080p is really where you want to be generating. That in mind, when we talk about open source models, it makes it hard for me to be like, this is a model that everybody can run locally, when that's not necessarily true. Like, if you don't have the money for a computer or to have a run pod network volume or something, which is totally fair, like, this technically isn't the solution necessarily if you have to generate at the highest possible resolution to actually get a decent video. And even then, we still didn't exactly follow the prompt. We never got our camera cut. The rest of it, yeah, looks good for sure. I will give the credit where credit is due on facial expressions, on the eyes, the laughing, all of it. It looks really nice. But if I have to generate at 1080p for it, it's not as open source and as accessible as maybe it's seeming to be as of right now. Now, that's not to say the generations we were getting at a lower resolution are bad, with the exception of the Gymnast one. I still think it's something worth taking note of. Overall, are these claims actually true? I think it's hard to say. Hands-on keys testing shows maybe. I will say I've had pretty great success with Minimax H3 in terms of artifacting, consistency, everything like that. Again, these are self-reported benchmarks. On speed, 100%. This model is super fast, even at 1080p. On the 5090 and RunPod, that only took 174 seconds, so not bad at all. You're typically waiting a pretty long time for Minimax H3 videos, and even then they still require upscaling. So is this actually better than Minimax H3? I don't think so. Faster, again, 100%. I would almost treat LTX 2.5 maybe as a pre-pass to Minimax H3. I think this is really good for getting quick shots, but in terms of getting what you're asking for, especially if it's complex or requires a lot of physical movement from a human, you may not get a great result from LTX 2.5, but I think you could get a decent result from Minimax H3. Now, I haven't done a video on that yet, but I will, and we will do the exact same testing with Minimax H3, so we can actually have a direct comparison between the two. No workflow provided in this video. Again, we're just using the template, which is here in Browse Templates. The models are provided here, and I've also put a link in the description for you guys to reach them directly. Again, if you like the video, please consider liking and subscribing. But that's it. Thank you so much, you guys, for watching. If you have any questions, as usual, leave them in the comments below, and I will see you guys in the next one.